So the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup, biggest moment in these young athletes' lives so far on the water.
Attention! Go!
So away we go, the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup, the Tideway Scullers School on the Berkshire station, roaring off that start pontoon, just watching the steering from Wycliffe Junior Rowing Club, who meandered a little bit out central, nervous glance over the shoulder in the bow from Lily Martin in the Wycliffe boat, and the flag of the umpire is poised, keeping a beady eye on what's going on there. Wycliffe have gone quite central, but just about Kath getting away with it.
Oh, I think pretty good. This is the quads are the fastest event that you steer yourselves as oarsmen. So, you know, it's tricky when you're at those very high rates coming off the start, max power, plus the trickiness of the island, you know, making you want to move away from it. I think we're in a good place. They're going straight like a dart, both of them now. Tideway Scullers have maybe just a slight advantage coming at the island, but in both crews, unbelievably tight with the synchronicity of the oars and the power. I think this is going to be a great race.
Yeah, these all the athletes you can see on the water, 16, 17, 18 years old. The youngest is in seat 2 for Tideway Scullers, but a 16-year-old. But otherwise, they're all 17 or 18. Incredible performance levels, bearing their tender ages.
The Tideway Scullers at the moment perhaps look a little more relaxed. They are just getting a few inches as the crews start to come out of that very intense, high power, high rate start phase into the rhythm that's going to take you down the track. And that's where it's really important to make sure you're at full length, that the tension in the forearms, which can come particularly in the sculling events, that you know you get that out so you can make sure you have a really quick, clean catch. And that they start to relax into the rhythm that for Wycliffe has been so powerful for them this week, that's helped them at Henley Women's, helped them to win there, and at Nat Schools. They've got a lot of experience through this season.
Well, we did wonder whether we might have the ultimate local derby until yesterday. The semi-finals, the losing semi-finalist Shipplate College lost to Tideway, and Henley Rowing Club lost to Wycliffe. I did think for a while we might have Shipplate against Henley, which would have been a terrific local derby, but both of those out. And so we've got these two in today's final. They both rowed yesterday, so haven't had much turnaround time.
This is a great shot from behind for seeing sort of how straight the boat is going. Is there any sideways movement? Is there any sort of tension? You can check the blade depths. And both crews rowing really well. You can see that the blades almost look at one, sort of in the, particularly on the Wycliffe boat. Very impressive. That means, you know, the balance is there, the hand movements are there, the hand heights with which they hold the blades on the way forward. So well rehearsed, so well drilled in both of these crews, which is so impressive at that age to be at this technical level and the power level and able to have this incredible race today.
All smooth so far, and also dealing with the baggage of the nerves and the pressure admirably. And actually, just looking in the last few strokes, I think Wycliffe have recovered their position and have crept up a bit on Tideway Scullers. We'll see whether they can continue to do that as they go past our camera. Temple Island fading into the distance, but Wycliffe have had a good couple of 100 metres and have recovered their position in the race.
It looks really tight, doesn't it? And of course, through the week, you're practicing your race plan, you're tightening it up, you're making sure you know which moves work, which place on the course best. You know, you make sure you're absolutely ready to do whatever you can to go as fast as possible from A to B. I think Tideway Scullers still have the edge there, so it's still a lot of work for Wycliffe just to think about how can they get back level. What are the moves? What is it they need to do? Sometimes it's about actually loosening and relaxing. Sometimes it's about an element of technique, just sharpening the entry of the oars into the water or just cleaning up the exit. It's half of the challenge here is for the person doing the calls, usually in the bow seat or the 2 seat, to find the key to unlock that absolute best speed. But at the moment, looking more and more comfortable in the Tideway Scullers School. Alice Metcalf at bow, Amalka De Levante at 2, Orla Harvey at 3, Alice McCarthy at stroke.
And a couple of them will be heading off to America to further their rowing education next academic year. McCarthy in the stroke seat off to Princeton, and we've got Harvey off to Harvard next year. And actually the same story in the Wycliffe boat. You've got
I think
One of them
Wycliffe are
heading to
now
America.
putting in a push. They are now really doing one of those coming past, coming up to Remenham, putting in one of those middle of the race pushes that you really need to do if you need to change the position, and they're doing that. Really impressive. They're just a little longer.
In front of the clubs there, you've got Upper Thames and Remenham Club just flashing by on the Berkshire bank, and they've put in a good shift again. Wycliffe Junior, they are heading to level with Tideway Scullers. It's going to be a fascinating second half of the race.
Brilliant race, yeah. This is where, you know, everyone's saying, how much have you got? One puts in a push, the other has to answer. Wycliffe looking across there in the bow seat, Lily Martin just looking and thinking, yeah, we've made some progress, but now, of course, Tideway Scullers won't sit there looking at it. They're going to make their response. It's
all going to come to the board in front of stewards, this one.
And they have responded. They've weathered that push, and they've responded again in the Tideway Scullers boat. Wycliffe, who train on an uninterrupted 32-kilometre stretch of the Gloucester-Sharpness Canal. All of the training there is coming back to what can they do on this course. Their steering looks as if they've just gone off a little, and that's a big distraction at this point of the race. Maybe it was an element of timing or an element of wash, because if you put the rudder on, that just knocks you off a tiny bit of speed and a bit of attention too. But this is pressure on now, or they'll be getting ready to really race it back, see what they've got in the tank.
Alice Metcalf there in the bow seat for Tideway Scullers. A very costly steering from Wycliffe, potentially just taking the pace out of their boat, but they'll keep on battling. You can see there Lily Martin calming things down. Perhaps they've got one last push in them. It'll need to come soon because they're heading in front of the enclosures and towards stewards. And Tideway Scullers, you've always felt throughout this race, have just had the edge, and they've certainly got the lead at the moment against Wycliffe.
They've been in control, haven't they? And yeah, Lily Martin, who actually learnt to row at Rob Roy Boat Club in Cambridge through an outreach programme in 2018. Who'd have thought she'd be in the final of Henley Royal Regatta just 5 years later? But they have a lot to do. They're moving away with each stroke now, looking really strong. They're relaxed. And coming down enclosures when you've got clear water like that is an amazing feeling for the Tideway Scullers School quad.
So a third Henley Royal Regatta for Alice Metcalf, Amalka Delavante, Orla Harvey and Alice McCarthy for the Tideway Scullers School in the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup in front of stewards with clear water, beating Wycliffe Junior Rowing Club. Last few strokes for them, and their name will be on the trophy. It's victory for the Tideway Scullers School in the Diamond Jubilee. In the end, comfortably. That doesn't really reflect the story of the race, because for 3/4 of it, it was so tight.
I think they can't quite believe, actually, in the end there was that much gap. These two have been tussling all the way through the season. I think Tideway Scullers beat Wycliffe at Met, but then, you know, the upper hand for Wycliffe has been at Henley Women's and at the Nat Schools Regatta. So, you know, that's an incredible performance that Tideway Scullers, they raised their standard for finals day.